Happy Monday morning. 49ers coming off of their 22-16 win over the Chargers on Sunday night. Those primetime games, they might be fun for fans, but boy, I'm working late into the night, and then the next morning I have to watch the game tape because I didn't have time to watch it at 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. last night or whatever time I closed up In-N-Out Burger. And I finally catch up by 10:20 a.m., ready to go live, ready to talk. We've got the podcast recording coming up this afternoon as well, so be sure to check out Here's the Catch. Kyle Shanahan is going to have his day after conference call at 3:30 p.m. That's when it's scheduled for right now. So 49ers going through the motions, then they're going to pack up and they're going to fly out to Colorado Springs where they'll train at the Air Force Academy. 3 practices on Thursday, Friday, Saturday at altitude, Air Force Academy, because Mexico City is also at altitude. So 49ers want to be ready to play in those conditions against the Cardinals next Monday night. So they're going to spend this week practicing in Colorado, Mile High, plus then they're going to jet straight down to Mexico City. And I'm really, really excited for this Mexico City trip. It is one of the largest cities in the world, 20 plus million people. Puts something like New York and makes it look like a village. New York's got what, 6 to 7 million people. Mexico City, a whole lot bigger than that. A lot of culture down there, a lot of excitement down there, and the atmosphere down there, I think, for this game should be a lot of fun. Anyway, we're here to talk 49ers Chargers. And you know what's crazy to me, my friend who actually is doing a cool thing, his name is Jason. He was at a London game a couple weeks ago. Then he was at the Munich game yesterday, and he's going to be flying from Frankfurt direct to Mexico City. So he's going to hit all 3 countries that aren't the U.S. for these football games. He didn't get to see the 49ers game due to the time change yesterday. And he was just looking through headlines today, and he's like, why the hell is Jimmy Garoppolo in hardly any of these headlines? It's all about, oh, Christian McCaffrey runs for a touchdown as the 49ers beat the Chargers. Or, Christian McCaffrey had 34 rushing yards. The best, most important player for the 49ers on offense, you can argue that it was Elijah Mitchell. Fine, put him in the headline. But I would say that the most important player in this game was Jimmy Garoppolo because of the third and long efficiency that he generated to bail out some conservative Kyle Shanahan play calling and actually give the 49ers their chance to run for those 157 yards on 41 carries. Kyle Shanahan doesn't get to the 40 carry mark that he wants without good, solid, efficient quarterback play because you have to move the chains to make that happen. And yesterday was a great example of even the worst run defense in the league can gamble against the run if they know that it's coming. So you better be able to throw to make them pay. And Jimmy Garoppolo did that. That's what I wrote about on The Athletic. I talked about it after the game last night. The 49ers went 9 of 17 on third downs. That means 2 things. First of all, you have to have a lot of first and second down failures to have 17 third downs in the first place. But if you win with that many third downs, 17 third down attempts, you probably have converted quite a few of them. Because if you're going 1 of 17, 2 of 17, well, you've probably lost the football game. Plus, you've got to convert third downs to earn that new set of downs to earn more third downs, right? So it was an interesting dichotomy yesterday. The 49ers were not good on first and second down, but they were awesome on third down. And I'm going to illustrate that for you right here. This is from Ben Baldwin's website. Let's take a look at the efficiency. Take this off of the screen. All right, check this out. Zoom in if you have to. This is expected points added per play broken down by down. So 49ers, all plays, you want to be in the green, by the way. Green is positive, purple is negative. All plays 49ers slightly in the positive. But go down here and look. Early downs, first and second. 49ers in pretty dark purple. First and second down, they are not efficient. Then go down here. Late downs, third and fourth down. They're very efficient on third and fourth down. Now, you could divide it up even further between late down pass and late down rush. Late down rush, the 49ers, not efficient, right? They lost 0.23 expected points per play. But look at this. I circled it in red. Late pass, plus 0.88 points per play added for the 49ers. 11 such plays. You do the math, 11 times 0.88. The 49ers added about 10 expected points on third and fourth down passes. And I don't believe that they passed on fourth down. They had a quarterback sneak. That was it. So on third down passes, that's Jimmy Garoppolo passes, on most of them were on third and long. The 49ers added 10 expected points. The Chargers, meanwhile, lost about 2 to 3 expected points. 49ers, folks, win this game by 6. That's your difference right there. The fact that Jimmy Garoppolo went 8 of 11 for 108 yards with a drop, a Brandon Ayuk drop on third down. That was a third and long as well in the end zone. The fact that Jimmy Garoppolo did that was the winning difference in this football game. He was better on those third downs, especially down the stretch, than Justin Herbert. So, it's time that Jimmy Garoppolo's name starts being in more headlines, because that's how well he's playing for the 49ers this year. Again, I will hammer this home over and over again until people understand this. And I think the 49ers haven't fully embraced it yet. But ever since Trey Lance went down and Jimmy Garoppolo took over, this offense ranks number 2 in the NFL in passing efficiency by defense adjusted passing efficiency, DVOA. They rank in the 20s in rushing efficiency. And I felt that at times yesterday, Kyle Shanahan was calling plays as if that were the other way around, as if his run game were number 2 and the pass game were in the 20s. But it's not the other way around. It's the pass game is number 2. The run game is in the 20s. Now, I want to see the updated numbers, and I'm going to continue to track the updated numbers, because I thought Elijah Mitchell, put his name up on the screen, was really, really good for the 49ers yesterday. Elijah Mitchell, what a return, right? He's been out for a while. You could tell that he had some fresh legs. The defense was keying on Christian McCaffrey, and Elijah Mitchell ripped off a lot of productive runs, got really skinny there in the middle. I've always remembered him as being that runner who can get skinny, who can get explosive through holes, but I thought that the shiftiness was on point as well. So anyway, with a Mitchell back in the fold, McCaffrey obviously being a star, we're going to track how this 49ers run game improves. And they better improve this if this team wants to reach its goals, which is winning a Super Bowl. The 49ers are going to need a balanced offense that is efficient passing and efficient running. But at the bye week, entering this game yesterday, the 49ers weren't balanced. They were one of the top offenses passing-wise in football when you looked at the efficiency, and the run game wasn't doing it yet. And I think that Kyle Shanahan is trying to pound that run game because he's trying to establish that, because he knows how important it is to attain that balance by the time that the 49ers hit this stretch run against a lot of quality opponents. But the fact of the matter is that it's not quite there yet. And beyond that, they need the passing game to allow the run game, the runway, pun intended, to get going. And yesterday, it was all about the 4-play turnaround. What was this? Well, the 49ers were down 13-3 in this game. They had just gotten a punt blocked, and then the Chargers turned around and marched down the field, and they got close to the goal line for the 49ers. Now, right before the 4-play turnaround, Nick Bosa made a potential game-saving play. He sacked Justin Herbert, who's the hardest NFL quarterback to sack. The Chargers had entered this game giving up a league least 10 sacks. But Nick Bosa just grabbed Justin Herbert by the ankles, and that was a massive, massive play, because that was on second down. The subsequent play was a throw out to Eckler, near side flat, good open field tackle from Jimmy Ward, and that kept the Chargers out of the end zone after the blocked punt. Instead of 17-3, it was only 13-3, and that obviously was a big deal. But then the 49ers offense took over, and the 49ers offense still struggled. They got the ball back. Elijah Mitchell wasn't sure where to line up. A little bit of rust there as far as the playbook goes. Whatever it was, the 49ers had a delay of game, and it moved it into 3rd and 12. So on 3rd and 12, late in the second quarter, down 13-3, the 49ers had their backs up against the wall. They weren't running the ball nearly effectively enough. They were killing themselves with penalties. They weren't cohesive. Kyle Shanahan had called way more runs than passes. I think his eyes had gotten a little bit big entering this game because the Chargers were technically a bad run defense, allowing a league worst 5.7 yards per carry. But it was all an illustration that even against the worst run defense, you've got to balance things out. You've got to keep them honest with the pass. And on that 3rd and 12, with the 49ers backs against the wall, they were forced to pass. And Jimmy Garoppolo sat back there, good pass protection, fired one into George Kittle, 21 yards, moved the chains. Very next play, Jimmy Garoppolo breaks off schedule and finds Ray McCloud. That was one of the nicest passes that we've seen Jimmy Garoppolo throw, really any NFL quarterback throw this year. Moving to his right, firing downfield, throwing Ray McCloud open. It was beautiful. Now, it was off schedule, just like Christian McCaffrey against the Rams the week prior in the touchdown. Now, that this was uncanny to me because the week prior, Christian McCaffrey was supposed to just hang out in the flat, hang out in the near side flat. That's exactly what Ray McCloud was supposed to do on this play, just hang out in the near side flat. But Ray McCloud saw open space downfield and he bolted for it, just like Christian McCaffrey saw open space in the end zone at SoFi Stadium and he bolted for it. And in both instances, Jimmy Garoppolo sensed that his receiver, McCloud this time, McCaffrey last time, both start with the MCC right there. Both times, Jimmy Garoppolo sensed that his guy was going to that open spot and threw a seed, a perfect throw to throw him open into that spot and make a big conversion for the 49ers. So in this game, the one that was, the play that was reminiscent of McCaffrey's receiving touchdown against the Rams, that was the second part of the 4-play turnaround. Was McCloud, 33 yards, beautiful throw from Garoppolo. And then we saw 2 passes to Christian McCaffrey. So it was a 4-play, 4-pass turnaround for the 49ers. Kittle, McCloud, McCaffrey on a standard running back screen, and then McCaffrey kind of on a swing to the outside. And that was an excellent play. McCaffrey swing passes, by the way, get a lot going. But those 4 plays got the 49ers from 3rd and 12 in their own territory to the doorstep of scoring. They were suddenly at the 5-yard line of the Los Angeles Chargers. I have that entire sequence detailed in this article. I'm putting the link into the chat section for you right now. It is also in the description. But that turned the game around. 4 passes turned the game around. So, I think lazy headlines, lazy takes about this game will say, oh, the 49ers ran 41 times for 157 yards, as if they just woke up and said, okay, we're going to run 41 times and that's going to win the game. That's not at all how this game went. They're struggling. They're down 13-3. They're running up against brick walls in the first half. You don't win this game unless Jimmy Garoppolo is really, really good. And he was really, really good. And I thought it really started with that 4-play turnaround. Now, they had to overcome some stuff, right? Brandon Ayuk had fumbled after a nice Garoppolo pass earlier in this game. And then later in the game, Garoppolo threw to Ayuk, who dropped the football in the end zone. So the 49ers had to make up some points in that way. But that shouldn't take away from how efficient this pass game was in relatively limited opportunities. And I think that moving forward, Kyle Shanahan is going to have to, and I think he will, I think it's necessary for the 49ers to establish some more balance, and they might have established some more balance with their insistence to run yesterday. But it's also necessary for this team to utilize all of its offensive weapons in space, right? I talk about Christian McCaffrey's swing passes versus zone coverage. Well, take the start of the second half. 49ers get the ball first. This was the drive that ended with the Ayuk drop at the end zone. So it was only a field goal drive. But the very first play of that drive was not a run. Remember, the 49ers started the game with 4 straight runs. They started the second half with a pass, and I love the play call. Christian McCaffrey in motion at the snap against zone defense. So the zone defense is kind of stuck in concrete, right? They're stuck in quicksand there. You swing it out to McCaffrey, and he only had one man to beat to make it a really big gain. Kind of beat him, but not really. He went out of bounds. It still was, a 13 to 15-yard gain. But that completely stretch the defense laterally. And I talked to Christian about this after the game, and he agreed with me. That one play, it set up like 6 straight runs. So to me, it's not about like balancing out the amount of rushing attempts and passing attempts. It's about making sure that the defense is honest. And the fact that the 49ers ran that McCaffrey play against zone on the first play of the second half, that just kept the Chargers honest. The Chargers in that situation were dead set on run because the 49ers had run so many times to start the game, right? Those 4 straight times. And they thought they're going to continue doing the same thing. They weren't ready for McCaffrey. All of a sudden, oh crap. That flat pass. Okay, now we can't gamble against the run because they could just flick it out to Christian McCaffrey and he could burn us for a lot of yards. Again, that was really close from being a true big gainer. So to me, McCaffrey's swing passes against zone coverage, it's a great example of something that works really well for the 49ers and something that is pass to set up the run. These two guys are studs. Now, I already talked about Nick Bosa potentially saving the game. Amenahu and Willis, though, Nick Bosa literally had that play that, that sack of Herbert to stop 17-3 to make sure it was only 13-3. Obviously, that was huge. But there were smaller contributions in less obvious moments. And hey, one of Jordan Willis's hits was at a very obvious moment. I'll talk about it in a bit. But Amenahu and Willis are glue pieces on this defensive line. And you have to keep in mind that the 49ers won this game yesterday despite being down 3 starting defensive linemen. You had no Ebukam, you had no Armstead, you had no Kinlaw. So they're shorthanded on the edge. They get Jordan Willis back from IR. This is his season debut. Doesn't play a whole lot of snaps. I think like 18 pass rushing snaps. But he gets 2 pressures in there. And he gets a huge quarterback hit on 4th and 2, their penultimate Chargers drive. Nick Bosa comes in against Foster Sorrell, right tackle out of Stanford on the right side with the spin move, pushes Herbert up into Willis, who beats left tackle and just destroys Justin Herbert. That was one of the hits. And then Willis also sacked Chase Daniel there at the end of the first half after Justin Herbert had to exit a few games for a medical evaluation following the Dre Greenlaw ejection. So Willis made his snaps count in this game. I'm not sure that the 49ers win without him. I thought that was really impressive since he was essentially coming in cold turkey. But Charles Amenahu just gets better week in and week out. He had that strip sack that people probably forget near the end of the first half because it was buried by the Dre Greenlaw controversy. But at Amenahu, he is getting so much pressure just using his athleticism against guards, especially when he's rushing on the same side as Nick Bosa. This guy is murdering guards. And, it's starting to remind me a lot of what Arden Key was doing for the 49ers down the stretch last year. I think, when I saw Charles Amenahu successfully bull rush Tyron Smith of the Cowboys last year in the wild card round, that opened my eyes. That was like, oh my God, this guy's got a lot of potential. Now, Amenahu still has a lot of strength that he can gain. The Texans just didn't coach this guy, which, to me is criminal. The fact that they let this kind of edge rushing talent not produce to his potential, but whatever. The Texans' loss is the 49ers game. Amenahu and Willis sure were able to help the 49ers make up for their D-line injuries up front. All right, I know that I mentioned this. I know a lot of people want to talk about this. What does the NFL want Dre Greenlaw to do? That is my genuine question in that situation. Justin Herbert's running. Let's go back and kind of reset the scene of what happened. This is a highly contested possession at the end of the first half. The Chargers are trying to rebut a 49ers score, and the 49ers are trying to get the ball back or at least stop the Chargers from scoring because they get the ball first in the second half. In many ways, the game is in the balance. You could feel the intensity when that possession was happening. Every yard mattered. Every, chain mover mattered. And it was 3rd down, and Justin Herbert tucked the ball and started running. and he was near field goal range. The 49ers were going to try to stop Justin Herbert at all costs, and they ended up paying a really big cost. But Herbert had obviously turned into a runner on the play, and the 49ers started dragging him to the ground, and Dre Greenlaw was flying in, and Dre Greenlaw hit him. Of course, Dre Greenlaw hit Justin Herbert in the helmet. It looked painful. It looked like a violent play. This is a violent sport. But was there any maliciousness involved? There is no way, by looking at actual physics, how football works. Take a look at Dre Greenlaw's personality. If you know Dre Greenlaw, there's no way that you could adjudicate that and say that that was an intentional headhunting hit. It's just not possible in a game that moves in by the tenths of a second, right? Everything's moving so quickly. Herbert was being dragged down to the ground, but the officials later, told Matt Barrows, who was the pool reporter, the officials justified this. By the way, this decision to eject Dre Greenlaw came from New York. It didn't come from the officials on the field. They said that Herbert was already down, and they deemed the hit unnecessary. That is like acting that's acting like Dre Greenlaw can press a button on his video game controller and just stop moving at the snap of a finger. It doesn't work that way in real life football. He's coming in hot on a play. It's a highly contested play, just like the guy from the other side is coming in hot, and he hit Justin Herbert, and he probably hit him in the helmet because Herbert was going down and Greenlaw was aiming low on his initial launch. So Greenlaw was initially aiming to not hit Herbert in the helmet, but because Herbert started coming down, he did hit Herbert in the helmet. Now, say that the helmet contact was incidental. Officials want to protect players, they want to protect quarterbacks. Okay, throw the personal foul flag. I think everybody agreed that given the way that the league is adjudicating this stuff for consistency's sake, that could be a personal foul. That's fair. But the ejection that was called in from New York still doesn't make any sense. In fact, it seemed like just an example ejection. Let's make an example out of this guy. The officials on the field didn't want to throw it, but somebody in the league offices wanted Dre Greenlaw ejected. Now, somebody said to me, "Oh, this is a reputation thing. Dre Greenlaw has some, questionable hits in his past, so the league is, kind of looking to go after him like they did after Vontaze Burfict back in the day." Maybe, although God, Greenlaw's nowhere near on the level of Burfict as far as reputation with hits, and that's not the right way to officiate a football game. You got to officiate it consistently. And Matt Barrows asked a great question to the pool. It was the pool reporter asked a great question to the officials. He said, if this was a running back, would you call it the same way? And the official said, yeah, we'd call it the same way. And to that, I say, BS. Deebo Samuel was a running back later in the game, and he got his face mask yanked, and nobody said anything. Nobody threw a flag. You're telling me that if Justin Herbert was running around like Deebo Samuel later in the game and got his face mask yanked, you would conveniently not notice it? The truth is that these officials are way, way more touchy and zeroed in, whether it be subconscious or intentional, on potential flags against quarterbacks. Running backs, receivers carrying the ball are not treated the same way as quarterbacks. The quarterbacks are much more protected on their way downfield. And that, to me, hit an extreme yesterday when not only did they throw the flag against the 49ers and Dre Greenlaw, but they ejected Dre Greenlaw. And the fact that it came from up top, that it came from the league office, to me, that seemed a little excessive and definitely contrived in that situation. So anyway, back to the genuine question, though. What does the NFL want Dre Greenlaw to do? Do they want him to just not play? He sees the quarterback running. Okay, let me just let up. I can't tackle this guy. Can't make an attempt to tackle him because, sorry, football is a game of chaos. There are 11 men chasing that guy with the ball on the field. So you could start chasing a guy and be past the point of no return, and one of your teammates can start bringing him down, And then all of a sudden, okay, that's going to be a late hit that gets you ejected. So it sounds like the risk reward in that situation, if you're going to get ejected, if something chaotic like that happens, the risk reward might, encourage you to just sit there and watch Herbert run. But then again, it was an important part of the football game, as I just illustrated. So it really puts these defenders into a bind. It's like, what are they supposed to do in that situation? And I think that Dre Greenlaw was really caught in between a rock and a hard place, and the NFL did try to make an example out of him yesterday. And I'm not really sure it was fair to Dre Greenlaw. I talked about the Debo face mask double standard yesterday. The Debo face mask double standard. It wasn't called, when Debo Samuel was running. And a lot of people say Brandon Ayuk might have taken a helmet to helmet hit on his fumble. Let's be honest, the quarterbacks are way, way more protected than the other positions in the NFL these days. And, I just don't, the officials after the game should not have just go out and admit that you protect the quarterbacks more. Don't go out and say, oh, if it was a running back, we would have done the same thing, when obviously there are apples and oranges happening out here on the football field. We had evidence of that in the game yesterday. All right, let's move on. Jawan Jennings, bull in a china shop and a man beater in coverage. Jawan Jennings might be the 49ers' best man coverage beater. Better than Brandon Ayuk. Brandon Ayuk is really good at beating man coverage, don't get me wrong. But Jawan Jennings, God, that guy just gets open. Huge play was a 3rd and long where Jimmy Garoppolo found Jawan Jennings on an out route against Asante Samuel Jr. That had to be a bust in coverage, because I don't know what it was. Asante Samuel Jr. thinking that Jennings was going to run by him. One thing Jennings doesn't really do well is run by people, right? He's doesn't have great speed. That's why he fell to the 7th round of the draft. But yeah, he got a huge cushion, 3rd and long, ran a deep out. Jimmy Garoppolo hit him on the deep out, 1st down. But the real impressive plays were the contested ones that Jennings caught, ran, destroyed people, set a tone for the 49ers. Again, that was the kind of stuff that enabled them to run as much as they did, was the fact they converted these 3rd downs. Jimmy Garoppolo was on point, but his receivers were also on point. Jawan Jennings got it done on that 3rd down where he turned into a bull in a china shop. And this guy is also beating man coverage. He is so valuable to this football team. People talk about Odell Beckham Jr. and all this and all that. Well, look how Jawan Jennings is playing, both blocking wise and mentality wise, after he catches the football. He's dropped a few too many passes this year, but he cleaned that up yesterday. And if Jawan Jennings continues playing the way that he did against the Los Angeles Chargers, that's going to mean a whole heck of a lot to the 49ers offense. He's a true glue piece. Now, you talk about glue plays. Jimmy Garoppolo beat cover 0, and this is another 3rd down, right? This is another play that was instrumental in the 49ers win and getting to those 41 rushes. This was on the same drive as Jawan Jennings' bull in a china shop. Later on, 3rd down, and I think this was 3rd and 10. And the Chargers decide to run a cover 0 blitz, bringing, extra rushers right up the gut, a la Chiefs and Steve Spagnuolo a few weeks ago. Remember how much that threw off the 49ers against the Chiefs? When the Chiefs ran cover 0 up against left tackle, and Jimmy Garoppolo, Trent Williams didn't pick up anybody, and Garoppolo was pressured right away. Hot read to the right. Jeff Wilson wasn't a realistic option. Garoppolo tried to get it to the back corner to Kittle, but didn't get the ball out there. It was intercepted. It was an ugly play all around. Well, the Chargers had a similar idea, but they brought the blitzers up the gut. Well, Daniel Brunskill at right guard blocked 2 guys, which was amazing to me. Didn't stonewall 2 guys, but he slowed 2 rushers and gave Jimmy Garoppolo just enough time to find Brandon Ayuk right there over the middle. And Ayuk took it 24 yards to set up what would be the go-ahead touchdown. So you talk about Jawan Jennings beating man coverage and then just battering opponent defenders, would-be tacklers. Well, then Brandon Ayuk beating cover 0. And that was a team effort, right? Jimmy Garoppolo has to have the awareness and the accuracy to beat it. Daniel Brunskill, awesome job. A few weeks ago against the Chiefs, Trent Williams didn't block anybody. Brunskill did pick up 2 guys there. I mean, Brunskill yesterday in pass protection to me was really, really, really impressive. So they're running that timeshare with Brunskill and Burford, but on the big downs in that game yesterday, Daniel Brunskill came through at right guard, and Ayuk has to deliver as well. So team effort for the 49ers to win on those key downs. We do have to emphasize that the Chargers gave the 49ers some breaks in this game. Herbert missed a layup early on third down that led to the Chargers' first punt. There was a drop by McKitty, the tight end, that probably should have been a touchdown in this game. There was a 49ers defense wasn't settled until that second half. It was reminiscent to me of the game against the Rams, where the 49ers defense, they caught some breaks in the first half. Remember McVay sitting on the ball at the end there inexplicably when the 49ers couldn't stop a nosebleed on third down. I mean, the Chargers left some points out on the table. But what good teams do, and the 49ers are a good teams make sure that they take those breaks and they capitalize on them. And the 49ers did capitalize on those breaks in the second half. And the Fred Warner blitz is the perfect illustration of this. Look out when D'Amico Ryan's Fred Warner blitzes start hitting. In the first half, a Fred Warner blitz didn't hit because Fred Warner just ran into a wall along the offensive line. But you just make a little simple tweak in the second half and you loop him around, right? Saw Fred Warner loop around 2 of his teammates and shoot there through that right guard position. He's fast enough to execute that simple loop, and he got right in Herbert's face on that 3rd and 8. Totally changed the game. 49ers defense pitched a shutout in the second half. They didn't give up a single point in the second half. And I think the start of all of that to get the pass rush moving downhill, because the pass rush was shorthanded. Start of all of that was Fred Warner delivering on a blitz. He has been lethal on blitzes this year. He's so fast, such good awareness. He can get skinny. He can kind of fit through that offensive line. D'Amico Ryan's deploying that Fred Warner chess piece correctly, huge for the 49ers. And that's the second straight week that D'Amico Ryan. This is from the old show. Will the 49ers beat the Chargers? Yes, they will. That was my prediction, and they did. But anyway, I think it comes back down to that 4-play turnaround. And there you have what I wrote about. Pass set up the run for the 49ers. Jimmy Garoppolo, 3rd and long efficiency. They were 5 of 8 on 3rd and long yesterday, and that's counting the Brandon Ayuk drop. Would have been 6 of 8. So that set up the ability to run, and I think the 49ers need to embrace the fact that they passed so well a little bit more moving forward. And I think that run game is going to catch up. There's too much talent for it to not catch up. And it already, let's be honest, there was already a lot of good stuff in that run game yesterday, particularly from Elijah Mitchell. It's just about piecing stuff together offensively so that you're finishing drives, so that you're explosive at the right times, so that you put up more than 22 points. I think everybody can agree that the 49ers have enough weapons to be scoring 30 a game, not just 22 a game. But hey, this is the National Football League. And that was a really solid win for the 49ers. That was a workmanlike win. It wasn't a perfect win. It hardly ever is perfect, but it was a solid win against the hungry Chargers team that was trying to prove a lot of people wrong. I mean, they came into this game 5-3. They were upset at some of the disrespect they were facing. Yes, a lot of injuries for the Chargers. But they still had Justin Herbert, who was healthy again, and they were still scrapping and clawing. So the fact the 49ers were able to crawl out of a hole, win that game, you can't get too picky, right? But you can build on it. And that's what the 49ers are going to try to do moving forward. All right, everybody, check out the article. It's up there. Thanks for joining the show. There's going to be much more coming today. Thanks again, everybody, and we'll talk to you soon.